Okay, so dating series number 5, and here we are going to be speaking about some more tips for healthy dating. The very first thing is having a team, which means not always doing this on your own. The next thing we're going to be speaking about is healthy communication, how to have healthy communication in dating, enjoying your dating. Number 4 is ghosting. I don't think we'll go through everything, but we're just going to go through the ideas. So obviously not to ghost and how that can help your dating. Trust, building trust in the other person, showing the trust and why that's so important for dating. And being able, when your date's not around, being able to really listen to your thoughts and ask yourself, what are my thoughts telling me, and what is the message of my thoughts? Should I listen to them or should I not? So these are the general topics of what we would want to speak about in terms of making our dating more healthy. And we'll start with number 1, which is having a team. Shira.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about the team. What does it mean? And I'll elaborate everything. And if you have questions, obviously you can always ask. So I want to give an example. Just like athletes, when they want to be successful, or they have a coach, someone to help them maximize their potential and reach greater heights. So to a focused dater, someone who is trying to integrate the principles of focused dating, need a well-selected group of people. And when I say group, it doesn't mean group like 10 people. It could be 1, it could be 2 people, to be on their team, to help them analyze their dating experiences and find a good relationship. The team helps you maintain your objectivity while you're dating. They act as role models and can be anchors in times of challenge, including times of rejection. Now, all these things, the role model can be your support, have the time for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be one person. You don't always find one person that can be everything for you, but sometimes you can. So now we're going to talk about the dynamics of a dating team and the benefits as well.
Can I just throw in that the reason why we think why this is so important is because there's a notion today, which is, I don't need somebody to speak to, or I can do this on my own. And we think that that's very wrong. We think that an objective view, especially when it comes to dating, is really important. It's a burden and we need to share it and we need help with it. And if we want this to be quick and easy and effective, it's always healthy to have someone that is objective that can help us.
Yeah, so I'm exactly going to be talking about helping you to keep basically your mind objective, keeping your objectivity. So as we know, it's very hard to stay objective when you are, dating someone who is really attracted. You have your emotions all the way up. And these emotions, like you spoke last week, can take control over your intellect. And you don't always have the clarity. Your mind is basically, I would say, clouded. So what this person can be for you is to help you find that clarity. Now, let's go back to the story that I think we said an episode with Tom and Jessica. Those are the names that I used. I don't know if you remember, but I mentioned Tom, that was new to LA, young professional right out of business school, and moved here, didn't know anyone. And then he met this athlete, Jessica. They hit it right off. He really liked her, was very attracted to her. But then he found out, after 6 months, it ended. But during that time, during the 6 months, he found out that she was not loyal to him. She was talking and seeing other people at the same time. So let's analyze this. What if Tom really did have someone that he talks to, a mentor, a counselor, someone a therapist, someone that he trusts and he can call a dating coach, and ask these questions, analyze the relationship. Say, hey, this is what I found she's doing. What do you think is the right thing to do? Should I carry on? Any suggestions? And obviously, he would probably get, the suggestions of, you got to slow down, because as we understood, their relationship was like a shooting star. They, kind of like jumped through stages very quickly. And so he would have been advised to slow down, really be cautious, and try and look at different areas. But because he was blinded and he really his emotions wanted him to carry on with her, he didn't really listen to these voices within him. So that's one thing that your team can help you. Now, what I do want to make it more clear, I kind of divided it to 4. So who are your team members or the components of your team? And there's 4 things, and I'm going to list it. Now, the first one would be your dating coach, and we're going to talk about who that person is. The second is role model. Third is your anchors, and 4 is prayer. All these 4 things can be your best team to make sure that you have a good dating experience and you're not staying in that dating forever. You're actually reaching your goal and finding someone. Okay, so let's talk about the dating coach. That's the first thing. So dating coach is someone that you admire, someone that you trust, someone who has time to help you evaluate, your experiences. It could be a therapist, it could be counselor, like I said, it could be a rabbi, a rebbitzin. In other words, someone who you trust and feel comfortable to open your feelings and talk about your relationship and your dating experiences. Now,
by the way, can you hear the kids in the background?
Oh,
it's fine, but I just okay.
No,
for the
we can.
Okay, perfect for the recording. Okay,
that's good. It's bedtime now, so
it's
they're
music.
just
It's beautiful sounds.
They're chatting.
What is it, background?
No, it's actually the girls. They're
the
talking
girls
between
are just
them.
Talking. Late night talk.
Yeah.
If we concentrate, we can, but
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
but no, we can't.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about Jessica for a second. This is a different Jessica, or maybe I'll call it something else. Like let's say Sarah. Okay.
So we're talking about the dating coach.
Yeah. Now I said we're talking about the first component of the dating team, and this is the dating coach. And we said that dating coach can be anyone that you trust. It could be, like I said, your counselor, your therapist, your rabbi, rebbitzin, anyone that you trust to help you. They have the time for you, and you feel comfortable to open yourself up to them and talk about your experiences. So let's say Sarah. I'll call her Sarah for this case. She noticed that she tends to get attracted to the wrong guys all the time. Wrong guys, irresponsible guys. Now, she has spoken about it with her mentor, and now that she's dating Dave, which is a new guy, she told her dating coach, here, look, I'm dating this guy. I really like him. She's attracted to him. She's attracted to some of his characters. He's very sweet, very, I would say, kind, sensitive to her. And then she also mentions, some background. He dropped out of college. He doesn't really have a job, but he really wants to be serious and he wants to build himself. So her coach, her team member, is discussing it with her. And throughout, the information that she hears, she starts asking her questions like, in what way do you think that this guy is responsible? I mean, you're saying that he's going to, but how do you actually know? Has he done any, is he beginning to develop any sense of responsibility that you see already? Any actions? And then she also told her, yeah, he's 29 now. He never had really a stable job for more than 6 months at a time. So the coach is basically discussing it with her and making her realize, look, from what you're saying, it's exactly the same pattern every time that you're saying you're getting stuck with the wrong people. It's not necessarily that a responsible guy. It doesn't sound like a responsible guy for you. So Jessica knows that the team member is right, but she needed that reality check, and that helped her. And then, she also knows that emotionally, she really wants this relationship to work because she likes him. He is handsome and he's nice to her, but there's other components that are a real problem here and cannot lead it to be something serious in the future. And bottom line, after discussing it with her mentor, she has the courage to break up, and then eventually she moves on to another person. So here you see the idea of having a dating coach. And when I say dating coach, again, it could be anyone you trust and has the time for you to help analyze things and help you decide things. Because when you're in it, it's very, very hard for you to be not clouded. You have the emotions. You need someone who is outside of your bubble, doesn't experience these experiences, and they can give you a clear and best advice of what you should do, or at least help you think. Is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just want to say that, sometimes if something's too heavy for us to carry, we're moving from place to place and we know that we won't manage to do it ourselves, we call our friends, or we'll call somebody to help us. And when it comes to physical things, there's no problem at all. If we're not able to do it, we'll ask someone else to do it and help us with it. But this is not only help. This actually solves so many issues because you have an objective view, and it's an emotional thing, and they're going to carry for us so much of our baggage, so much of our problems, just because I'm speaking to someone who's objective. So if you're willing to get somebody to help you physically, why wouldn't you want to get somebody to help you emotionally as well? And it's not like you have a problem. It's just that, look, someone is going to give you an objective view, and it's very important in this situation. So that's just...
Exactly. Agree. And okay, so that's the first thing. Now, I do want to add here, this is a point that I've heard from a lot of people. When we talk about someone to talk to, I suggest it cannot be one of your good friends. Because what happens here, it's, and I've seen it happen with many, many people that actually ruin it for them. It doesn't help them much. Because if it's someone that's kind of in your situation, they're also dating, they're also single, you never know. You believe, and we would like to believe, they're best friends with you, but I don't know if the advice would always come from the best place. They could be, you never know, but they could be jealous maybe. They could be that they really like the guy that you were dating. You don't know. So when it comes to these things, I highly recommend it cannot be someone that within your circle of necessarily friends. It has to be someone other than that. Someone that you still, really well, but is not in your friends group or like single and experiencing the same things. That's just a side point that I had to mention because I've spoken to so many and things go wrong when you get the wrong advice and you think it's the best for you. And then it all turns around. But anyway, so that's about the dating coach. Now, number 2, I said we're talking about the second component of your team is the role model. And what is that? A picture. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. So as we know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And so too, when you watch and learn from someone who has what you want, is even more powerful. And in this case, we're talking about someone who has that long-lasting relationship, the good communication, good marriage that you can look up to. That's what we call a role model. Now, again, it could still be your coach. It could still be the person that you trust, but it could be someone else. It could be that coach is, but it could be someone else. It could be that coach is helpful for advice, and it's not necessarily your role model. Sometimes it could be the same person. Sometimes it's not. Depending of who you know and who you are connected to. So here, I would say if you, let's say, didn't grow up in a home where you saw a healthy relationship, and we see it a lot, it's really, really important to seek out those connections and surround yourself with people that you can look up to and say, wow, I like, the way they are. I like the way they have their family put together. I like the way that they have a healthy relationship, healthy family life. You need someone to look up to have a role model when it comes to relationships, because it is really important. That way you learn a lot of things that are not necessarily said to you, but you learn it through, watching people. And I'll give you an example. Nava, she grew up in a home that she didn't really see the model of a good relationship. And when she learned about the focused dating, she, realized that there's a lot of things that she would like to incorporate and bring into her life, some of the principles. And one of the things that she really thought she needs is that role model. She never had any of that. And so she was literally looking out for a family, someone that she can get really close with, be able to go to their home a lot, for normal reasons, obviously, and learn from them. And then she found that family, nice couple with kids. She used to go there for dinners. She used to help out with the kids during the week and have long chats with them and really see the way they lived. She used to go out on outings with them. And through that, she really learned and grew to understand the dynamic of a real, healthy relationship. And these things she could, have in her mind and say, wow, I want to do that. I want to be able to do this. I want to learn how to do that. And by watching these people, she was able to incorporate a lot of the things that she learned. So that's when I talk about role model. I feel like it's extremely important. Even when we talk about business, we always say, you need role models. You want to be close to people that you look up to and you want to be like them. The same with relationships, the same with everything in life. When you surround yourself with the people that you look up to, hopefully one day you can be that, and you will be that for other people, which is amazing to see and watch. So that was number 2. Number 1, again, was a dating coach. Number 2, role model. Number 3, your, by the way, you say the anchors?
Yeah. I just want to throw in as well about role models. Sorry, I was just getting Abraham organized there. So I just wanted to say about role models in general. There's also another aspect which I think is really important, is the concept of trust, because we're going to be speaking about trust, but when you go through certain experiences and you don't believe it's possible for a good relationship to happen, remember we spoke about the cynic?
Yeah.
So that mentality, that mindset can be removed if I have role models where I see a normal relationship and I'm like, you know what, maybe this I can have as well. No, it is possible. There are people who have normal relationships. There's people that have told me, I have never seen a normal relationship, never. And that statement, it was one person that told me, but that statement is telling me that maybe he's got a bad experience in his life. And for him to heal, to date properly, to date healthily, he needs to also have trust. And one of the ways of getting trust is through having a role model, someone that you can look up to, who you can see and model as well.
Yeah.
But how do you define normal?
Listen, at the end of the day, you can never know anybody, right? But you can never know anybody, but you could see, we're a Jewish nation. We have lots of Shabbats to go to and lots of meals that you can go to. And there's a big community in LA, and you can go to different families and sit down and see what a family looks like. You see how they have a Shabbat meal. You see how they sit with their kids. You see how they communicate.
Yeah.
If things don't work out, suddenly the kid throws the milk on the floor. What's the reaction of the parent? Obviously we can't be judgmental, but when things don't go in the way that a person wants, what is his reaction? That's a very good sign of somebody who's everyone's normal, right? Most people are normal, but who's been working on himself to be able to actually be that model that you want in a relationship, be that model that you want for when you get married, because that's what marriage is all about, is being a mensch. And having those values. So when we say normal, it means looking at somebody and saying that, wow, they react to certain situations in a very special way. And there are many people. We're a special nation. We have thousands of people that we can just be part of and join for Shabbat and so on.
During normal times, we hope we get to those days very soon. But yeah, so that was number 2. Now we'll go to number 3, your anchors. Anchor symbolizes security, stability, and being grounded. So we know that rejections can be really painful, whether you are the rejecter or the one being rejected. And even if you know that the rejection or the decision that you make or they made is good for both of you or for one of you, whatever it is, even if you know that it's the right thing to do, it still is very, very hard. No one said it's easy. So in such times, I think it's extremely, extremely important to have those either people or activities that remind you, and that's really important, that you do not need these unhealthy relationships to have a good life, to feel good and enjoy who you are and enjoy the life that you have. You really don't need other people in order to feel that. And it's important for people to understand that you don't necessarily need that guy or girl in order to have the best life. It's obviously going to be, if it's the right fit, you both together can be something amazing, but as an individual, you need to understand that you don't necessarily need the other side in order to have the best perfect life. And especially at times of rejection and, getting over a relationship, it's important to surround yourself with people or activities, doing things that you that, like I said, make you realize that. It can be hobbies. And like I said, people, it can be hanging out with people that make you feel good. There are people like that when you're around them, you just laugh a lot, you feel good, nothing's heavy. It's just fun. There's no problems, So that's really important. And to do things that bring you joy and add to your self-esteem and confidence. So I think this is extremely important to the part of your team in dating. So that's the third aspect of it, which I thought is, it's a must. And then prayer, which is also really, really important. And we'll talk about that. So according to Jewish traditions, you can help bringing blessings into your life, including finding your own, your soulmate, by verbalizing it to Hashem, your creator, the creator that created you and brought you into this world. Our world is full of blessings and positivity, but you need to basically verbalize it and articulate why you need it and what you need in order to pull these blessings. Basically, it's like a pipe. It's all up there, but you need to create that pipeline that brings the blessings into your life. And we also know that sometimes you're destined good and you're meant to get it. But that good can only come to you by vocalizing your desire. And this expression is called prayer. That's what prayer does. Prayer helps you vocalize what you want, what you need, and helps you get those blessings directly into your life at the right time, when it's the time for it. And I highly recommend, speak to your creator, do it in your own words, say what you need. No one needs to know. It's between you and Hashem. It's nothing to do with anyone. But I think it's really important for us as people to understand that, we do have something above us. We have something that is looking after us. We have the creator. We can definitely use the power of our, prayers, saying words to communicate and hopefully receive those blessings. There are many things that you can do. Some of you know, some of you may not, but you can reach out to me after. I can give you ideas of certain psalms that you can say, very short things, or specific prayers that you can say to find a soulmate, or anything that, if you're into it, you can reach out. I can definitely send you a screenshot of different things, and you can choose, to do some of that for your own benefit. So that's in terms of prayer. So we covered the 4 things that creates your team. Now, the last thing that I would mention also is keeping your dating experiences only within your team as much as possible. And that means sometimes, and I hear that all the time, people feel so obligated to tell their friends or other people about their dating experiences or their relationship or what's going on. And I'll say one thing. In Judaism, we have this saying, blessings come to that which is hidden. אין דבר הסמוי מן... מה זה? מה הפסוק?
אין הברכה
אין
שורה אלא
הברכה
בדבר.
שורה אלא דבר שסמוי מן העין. Yes, so the blessings comes to something that's hidden. The less you share your business, the more likely it's going to be successful. The less people are going to talk about it and give their views and discuss it, the better it's going to be for you. So by limiting, the discussions and talking about your experiences only to the people that you assign as your role model or, your dating coach, by that you're ensuring that you get the best advice and you trust that no details of anything that you tell them is going to go around. Those team members will not gossip or, judge you. So this is really important to I think, learn. Not everything we have to talk with everyone about, and there shouldn't be pressure. She tells me everything that's going on with her. It doesn't mean I have to. I mean, it's people's choices, but that doesn't mean and shouldn't be in a way that a person feels obligated to talk about their personal life and what they're going through about their relationships without knowing that they're actually talking to the right people and getting the right advice. So I think in terms of, the team, I covered everything I wanted to cover in that. I would love to hear any thoughts or anything anyone wants to add before we're moving on to your...
Healthy communications. Any thoughts about
anyone
having
want
a
to
team?
add anything about the team idea?
It sounds so basic, but it's not something that's on people's minds, and we feel it's really needed for the sake of making our dating productive and successful and easier on us. So, which is why we threw this in.
Yeah. Anyone?
I think it's great. I loved it.
Thank you, Sharona.
Thank you.
I always think that everyone should have a mentor in general.
Yep, I agree.
Then when you jump into dating, like they always say, like after you come home from a date, you should talk to someone about it. Like a mentor, someone that you can break it down with.
Right. And every...
Well, now you did.
Well, I want to throw in, there are people, you have to make sure that, like we said, it's someone you could trust.
Yes.
Some people are very close to their parents, let's say.
Yeah, I was about to mention parents. Not always that's a good idea. If you know your parents and you know the dynamics and you know what they think about dating and whatever, every community is different and every person is different. Every family is different. But you need to know the people around you to trust and to realize who is the right person to discuss that they have you in their best, how do you
interest.
In the best interest and not anything else.
Okay, I think we're going to move on. We don't have that much enough time because we want to cover some ground.
Yes.
Okay. But let's talk about healthy communication. I think that this is helpful for all areas of life, not necessarily just in dating.
Yes.
But dating especially has so much bickering in it. And, why did he say that, right? So, and there's so much thought that goes on with it afterwards. So let's get this clear. Let's get some tools that we can have healthy communication, not get into arguments which are unnecessary, and actually date in the right way. This is key. Communication is key. So let's dig right into it. The very first thing is, for the sake of getting healthy communication, what you need is to always make sure that you and the other person are on the same wavelength. Don't make yourself someone that's an attacker and they are the defender. When it gets into that situation, the conversation gets dangerous. And this is in all areas of life, but especially in dating. So let me give you an example. David and Sarah going out, and David says, during the conversation, he's like, I had a great time yesterday. She's like, oh, really? Where did he go? He says, I went to the shooting range. And she has nothing to hear of that. I mean, oh my goodness, shooting range? So immediately she jumps and she says, I don't understand. I think I think guns are really dangerous and terrible. No one should be going to the shooting range. So, and I'm not trying to get political here, but it's just an example where it's extreme and she's like, whoa. So he says to her, actually, this is the wrong reaction, right? The wrong reaction would be, I can't believe that you have that there's such a thing as, I think guns are terrible and so on. That's the wrong reaction. And the reason for that is because now you're putting the other side in a defensive mode. You're now the attacker to him, and he has to defend himself. So because he has to defend himself, he's going to answer things which are unnecessary. And if you would have just given him time, maybe you would have understood him. And maybe there would have been a different response. So the minute that when somebody answers and they say, I personally think that's a very bad thing, or I would never do that, or I don't agree, straight away, as soon as someone does something which is different to you and you really don't agree with it, I'm talking about things which you really don't agree, to jump to conclusions is a big mistake because you're putting that person in defensive mode. And if you wouldn't have put him into defensive mode, it would have been much, much easier. Everything would have made sense. Okay? It's not going to end well. It's just going to get worse and worse. So he's going to say, no, what's wrong with guns? It's not that bad. He's defending himself. So you're going to say, what do you mean it's not that bad? Guns are terrible. I mean, he says, no, it depends on who it is and who's using it. And it's all, the back and forth is just him trying to defend himself. Just allow him. So the best way, if you don't agree with something that someone says that you're dating with, is to repeat the words that they said. Okay? Oh, so you went to you like going to the gun range, right? You like, so you went shooting? So you just repeat the words he said. You don't conclude, repeat the words he says. And that way you allow him to explain himself, but not as a defender, just as being on the same wavelength as you. So what he's going to say is, yeah, I think guns are dangerous, right? If you would say to him, so you went to the gun range? Immediately he's going to realize, okay, I need to explain myself. I don't need to defend myself. I'm just going to explain. So I did, but you should just know, I think guns are really dangerous, right? This is David's response. Guns are really dangerous. But, it's been a tradition in my family. We've been doing this ever since I was young. And I don't keep a gun in my house. I just have it in the range. And every few weeks, I go with my friends and we go shooting. And then I leave everything there. I don't have one in my house. I think they're dangerous and so on. So that ends well. Like now, Sarah, instead of being shocked and having him to defend himself, she actually is looking at him and she's saying, okay, this makes sense. I can understand that. Does everyone get what I'm saying? Don't put the other side on a defensive mode and you on attacking mode in the conversation. Always make sure you're on the same wavelength. Now, the reason, what's really important here is I'm trying to point out, you don't ignore something which is a problem by you. I mean, if you really believe guns are evil and terrible, and that's another whole discussion, but if you believe there's no way in my life I'm going to marry somebody who has a gun. So if you really believe that, don't give it some time. Yes, you have to deal with this. If that's what you really believe, you have to deal with it. Don't put it under the rug and ignore it and keep dating this person just because he's cute. You've got to speak it out. But speak it out now in a way that's not putting him in defensive mode. Don't show how bad it is to you and how he has to defend himself. I think this is key to all relationships, whether it's with your children, whether it's with everyone else, with work, but especially in dating. You're dating somebody who's not even married to you. They're not obligated to live like you, and they're not obligated to defend themselves. So when you keep them on the wavelength, you will actually get to a resolution. You'll understand what they really want to say. Okay, so that's the very first thing, is do not conclude what they said. Do not interpret the words that they said. Just ask them and repeat what they said. So, you went to the gun range. That's interesting. And he'll explain what happened and why he went and so on. But to put him in defensive mode by saying, I completely disagree with guns. All guns are... And having him to defend it, not good. Okay, so that's A. B is Don't give solutions. Okay? When it comes to dating, repeat, again, this is another point, but repeat what that person says. Don't give solutions. So if, let's say, you're dating, and I've mentioned this many times, and she says, yeah, it's been such a hard day. It must be I have such a bad headache and I've been having fever. So what's the normal reaction that the guy will have? Right? Solution. What solution will he give?
I gotcha. You should go home and lie down.
Yeah, you should go home. You should lie down. Let me give you some Tylenol. Maybe you should go to the doctor. Look, if somebody's got fever, they know that they should take Tylenol. They know about Tylenol. I think every single person who's above 20 knows about Tylenol, right? So we have to see why the man has a desire to give solutions. We all know what the solution is. But the reason why she's really telling you this is because she wants you to empathize. She's not telling you because she wants you to give her the solution. She doesn't want you to tell her about the Tylenol. She's just telling you, I'm in pain. So the right way of responding would be, really, you're in pain? Tell me about that. It must have been such a hard day, right? Elaborate on the pain that she's had. Repeat the pain that she's had. That must be so tough. That must have been so hard. Right. And that way she feels like, oh, he's listening to me. He really hears that I'm in pain. Okay, this is a key to solving so many issues. And it's just a simple point. Most people are not looking for solutions. Exactly. You just got to give some sort of a repetition to help them realize that you're with them. You're actually empathizing with them. You understand that they're in pain, and you actually realize that there's a pain here. This happens a lot in marriage, in all areas of life. You come home and you expect there to be quiet and a nice evening. And as soon as you come home, you see that your spouse is sad. And you say, what's so wrong? I don't know. It's been such a hard day at work. What do you mean? Who was it? Why? Let me call. She doesn't want you to give solutions. She just wants you to listen and say, oh, I see that you're in pain. Maybe we could sit down. Tell me more about it. This sounds crazy, but say the words, tell me more about your pain. I promise you, it sounds weird, but the person will be like, really? Let me tell you more about my pain. Let me tell you. It's amazing how humans work. We just want to be heard.
I think especially women, though.
Yes, this is especially in the area of women.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I can agree, yeah.
They're not looking for solutions. Sorry?
This is the most true thing ever.
Yep.
You're teaching us how to be psychologists, because that's what we do with patients.
Yeah.
Is ask. We don't give a solution. We're not telling you how to solve your problem. We're saying, I hear you, and I feel. I want to hear more. Tell me more.
Tell me more.
Exactly.
I think every guy should write this down, and you'll have an easy life.
Yeah, it could be.
We just want to hear that we hear you, we understand. We don't want your advice.
Yeah, no.
But let me throw in the other thing that's very important, and this is that men have a desire to solve. Yep. So this is the irony of dating. Men have the great desire to be the solution maker, and what the woman needs to do is to say, that is so kind of you. Thank you. If he does try and bring a solution, meaning she needs to be able to say, wow, yes, give me your solution. I like your solution. It's hard, but that's also the need of the woman. She needs to actually say, I want your solution, and she should want to take it. So this is the job in a relationship. He wants to actually bring the solution. She wants to have a connection and a deeper empathy, a deeper feeling of connection. So when he does bring solutions, you're meant to say, oh, thank you for your solution, right? You don't need Tylenol, but, right? Tylenol, thank you. That's such a good idea. I never thought about it. Tylenol, that's brilliant. And the guy's like, right? And what's he going to do now? He's going to sit with you, and he's actually going to listen to your pain, because finally you took his solution. So,
sorry to interrupt.
yes.
Real quick. One of the the most, like one of the best communication experiences I had with someone that I was previously dating was every time that I brought something up, he said, do you want to hear my thoughts about it? And I could always say yes or no.
That's a cool thing.
That's not very intuitive.
So you would say yes or no to him wanting to speak, so you would listen. That's what you're...
Well, depending on like if I wanted to talk to be listened to just because I needed to talk about something, or because I needed help finding a solution, because he never really knew which one it was, so he would always just ask.
That's beautiful.
That's amazing. I mean, it happens. Sometimes I can say something to you and I can say just, I don't really need the solution, just listen.
Normal.
That's all I want.
This happens, I'm preaching about it, but it happens to me. Like, it's normal because my desire as a man is to bring the solution to the home.
Yeah.
So it is my innate desire, and it should be the wish of the woman to actually say, okay, I'm going to take his solution and accept it. So that way the bond will get strengthened. This is very, very important. We do believe that there are differences, and if they're met in the right way between men and women, and if they're communicated in the right way, so many problems will be solved. Okay, so those were the two parts of healthy communication, which is if you find there's a difference between you and the other person, repeat what they're saying and show interest in what they're saying. Don't put them in a lower state where they have to defend themselves and you are the attacker. I think that that's very, very dangerous in dating especially, and in all areas of life as well. And the second point was, don't give solutions. Actually repeat and listen to their pain and say, that must be so painful. That must be such a bad headache. Tell me about it. It's weird, but if you say to somebody, that must be a bad headache, tell me about it, right? It's like, what? You're interested in my headache? But actually, people like that. So repeat, listen, and repeat. These are such important keys to making dating work. Just repeat what the person's saying, repeat their words. So I think what you're saying is that repeating their words helps a lot as well. Okay, so that's about healthy communication. Should we go to the next one?
Yeah.
Well, is there any other thoughts that anyone wants to throw in?
I think we're...
This is brilliant. So
Thank you.
it's what we study in psychology. So you're giving away our secrets, but it's okay. It's good.
That's great. We're sharing secrets here, guys.
Yes.
Have you read How to Win Friends and Influence People?
Yes, we have the book here.
Oh, it's a cool book. Sure.
Yeah. It kind of touches on that idea too. But which is listening to the other side. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the next thing, and let's make it fun.
Yeah, talking about fun, having fun. So that's my next topic is having fun, and we'll talk about when and what. So the focus of the first date or the first 2 dates should be having fun, not more than that. And we'll elaborate on that, and we'll say what kind of fun. So first dates can be exciting, but also nerve-wracking. You don't know the person. You're kind of like not sure how you're going to be perceived and whatever, especially if someone that you don't know anything about. So it can be stressful to some people. So I want to kind of touch on that and clarify. The first 2 dates should be to clarify 2 things. 1, do I enjoy being around this person? Do I want to see them again? 1 question, okay? Number 2 is, it's not necessarily these first two dates, which are going to give you not that much information about the person unless there's something really like big red flag. You won't pick on almost anything. It's not there to clarify for you if this is the person of your dream. In fact, it's going to clarify for you if this is not the person of your dream. So you are able to filter out. If it's not, then you say goodbye, you move on to another person. So these are the 2 focuses. Do I enjoy having fun around this person, and do I want to see them again? It like goes hand in hand. And to clarify if this is not the person I want to be seeing or like be spending the rest of my life with. And really expect nothing heavy from these dates. No revealing like crazy thoughts or really deep feelings. Definitely, I don't believe physical contact. Some people can argue. I really think the first 2 dates are so, in a way, fragile to figure out things and just to get the sense, and that can ruin it. It can cloud you and you will not be able to. And again, we're talking here about focused dating, not just regular dating that people date to date. So they can say different opinions about that. But when it comes to real dating, and I want to get to know that person for a real serious purpose, it is definitely not advised to have any physical contact. Now, many singles, and we've spoken about it before, they do think that if they don't have that wow feeling, and I said that last week, the sense of like intense chemistry or any kind of crazy feeling at the beginning, the first date or two, they think there's a problem, or like this relationship there's no way, it's not gonna happen. But we have to remember that about the buried treasure relationships that we spoke about, that sometimes you need time for the emotions to come. So don't be so quick to judge. That's why we're saying the first 2 dates, don't try find out crazy stuff or whatever. Just, am I enjoying this person? Do I want to see them again? And if this is not the person I want to see again, then you say no. After 1-2 times, you don't need longer than that. You don't need to waste your time. Also, another thing, how should you handle your feelings after the first day or during? So I would say that if you don't sense, so sometimes people after the first, second day, they're kind of like, I'm not sure, I don't know. So here's the thing. If you don't sense anything negative towards your date, towards that person, nothing negative, and you might even think, hey, wow, she's actually really nice, or he's actually a really nice guy, I would say 100% you should meet them again. There's no way you're not meeting them again. If you really want to give it a chance, there's no reason that you're going to say no. Again, unless you have a serious reason to say no. But here I'm talking about, it's pretty plain. You have no crazy reason to say yes, but really no negative feelings, no reason to say no, then I strongly think you should see that person again. And again, you might have, I would say, concerns about the viability of the relationship and the future, but any of these things should not and cannot be discussed, and trying to find out these things the first date or two is just going to ruin it. Leave it for future dates. If you get to those future dates with this person, you're going to get to it. Don't worry about these things. Just find out the first basic things that we said before. Now, it does happen that many, many people do try the first date to like try and read in between the lines and like try to find the faults maybe, or look for the red flags. Not a good idea. Just be easy. Just be cool. Just be friendly and nice and warm, and allow the other person to be themselves so you can also be yourself. And just, in Hebrew we say lizrom, you go with it. You just try to have a good time. Just flow, with the evening. I would say that it's a key also to be prepared, So when I say be prepared, meaning not having like a whole page and having an interview, because it's not meant to be an interview, but have like fun questions prepared in advance in your mind, like things that you're gonna, start a conversation, talk about. There's many ideas, even online. If you're gonna go, you're gonna find hundreds of fun questions. And if you find that the question itself is fun, you know that it's gonna be a really, hopefully, fun conversation with that person. Just some, I would say, questions that I found, and you can find plenty more based on your personality and what you like, is, did you ever have a pet? Simple things like the most beautiful place you visited, and like you really want to know about the places they've been, favorite movies and why, and you can discuss the characters. It's first childhood job that you ever had. Just random things, that could be fun, nothing like heavy or whatever. And just also you need to make sure that when you ask these questions, it can't be just because you have that in your mind and you want to kind of like do a tick, I did the right thing and I asked the right questions, but also genuinely be interested. in these questions and answers. The person really needs to feel that you are there. You're present. You're there to hear them. So be a listener as well as active, in the conversation. It's not a problem that there are quiet times sometimes, like a few seconds here, a few seconds there. I don't think it should be like a marathon the whole time. It should be very easy and relaxed, and it's not a problem if there is silence times, but, not in an awkward way. And just to make sure that, you do your part in the conversation. You're active as well as listening. Have a good balance of these two. So that's in terms of the having fun during the first 2 dates. Now, before I go to there's one more, maybe I'll do that before I have, I'll take any questions if anyone has anything to add. Another thing that I found, speaking to many, many singles nowadays, and I think we've mentioned that here, it's one common mistake that someone is dating someone. So you begin dating someone when you're already dating someone else, meaning you are not being exclusive. And we've spoken about that. There's two really, I would say, bad things that come out of it and really hurts you and the other person. Now, again, I'm not talking to people that are not going to be dating seriously and for the right reasons. For those who are dating for date, fine. I mean, they don't care anyway. They're fine. So they're not committed. So you can date 5 people at the same time. It's not like you're really evaluating each person properly and getting to know them. That's a different story. Here we're focusing on the effective dating, on focused dating. And what is focused dating? It's exactly this. 1, you do not date 2 people at the same time. So first of all, it can be confusing and bring you heartaches. And we'll give just an example of Brad and Jessica. Now I don't know why I'm stuck to Jessica, but I guess that's what it is. So here I have Brad and Jessica, and they've been dating for 2 months. Okay, things seems to work out. He's calling her, she's calling here. They see each other every once in a while, and everything is good. And then after 2 months, she hears nothing from him. It's like all of a sudden a disconnect. It can happen to the other side as well, meaning it could be that the guy doesn't hear from the girl from 2 months is good, and then nothing. It's a silence. So eventually she decides to reach out and check in with him, what's happening. And he sounded like, I'm busy and it's been so busy with work, and I'll get back to you, when my schedule is cleared up. So she clearly understands, it's not rocket science. You don't even need your dating coach to tell you that their dating period is pretty much over. Their relationship is over. And what she finds out that he has been dating this other girl during the same time, and they even went, away for the weekend, and she didn't know. But he kept telling her that he cared about her that whole time. She didn't know that he's dating another person. So what this brought, it hurt her. It's confusing. For sure, the guy couldn't decide. I mean, he was probably comparing that whole time, and then he made a decision. Okay, this one, she's better, and then who knows how long that one would last, because if you're not committing to one person, and there's always going to be that new and more attractive and someone else out there. So you can never be focused on one person. And we've spoken about those type of, I would say, characters that do that. So that's the first thing. It can bring heartaches and confusion. And the second thing, the comparing aspect. So comparing really avoids you from having clarity in your dating. You can't have clarity of the person. You can't have clarity of the relationship. Now, I would say that in the focused dating method, you date a person, and it is known and understandable to both of you that you both date for the same reason. You both know you're dating. There's no such a thing. I mean, I've heard it so many times from many that they've been talking to this one or talking to that one, but I'm not really sure. I mean, I don't know if it's dating. I mean, there wasn't anything clear yet. I mean, I'm not sure if I can even like ask her out or whatever it is. I mean, things are just not clear, and people can go for a month, 2 months, 3 months with like the unknown of what's happening. Is this really a relationship? We didn't talk about anything. Is it too early to talk about exclusive dating? Was that a date that he asked me out? I don't know. I mean, there's so many, there's so much like, I would say confusion and cloudiness, and there's no clarity. So what happens with focused dating is you have that clarity. If they are up for the date, you're up for the date, you know you're dating right now. I mean, this is a date. It can last one date. It doesn't have to last longer than that if you're not compatible and you feel like, okay, this is not going, in a good direction. But there is that clarity. And there's also no chance to compare people, because once you decide, you need 1 day, 2 dates, 3 days, I don't know, a month, you're only with that person. You're really putting your whole like focus into them, trying to see the good. Here and there you see other things that don't make sense, and whatever it is, red flags, deal breakers, then you decide to break off. That's totally normal and cool. Very, very nice. You're not made for each other. Finish off in a nice way and boom, move on to the next person. That's not a problem. But when it's the same time, you have that, like we say, the comparing, you're not clear, you're hurting other people, and overall it's not good for you. So like I said, people may argue and say, but this is how the society is now. I'm sorry, but if someone is serious, you voice things ahead of time, and this is how many people do meet and continue and become serious with their dating. So it's really all about, I think, where you put yourself and how much you want things to, I think, to be serious. Mm-hmm. And, and you take it from there. I would love to hear some of your ideas or anything you would like to add or agree, disagree, anything.
Shira, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Let me cut you, Natasha, for a sec.
Go ahead.
So you said not to get physical, and I totally understand that. But what if you want to hug them when you see them for the first time? Like, hey, nice to see you. What are you gonna like? Not even like, you're not gonna like give them a handshake. That's kind of awkward too. So is it absolutely like do nothing, just like sit down, have a chat? Or like, what if you're going out with someone who you already know who's your friend and you greet them, positively, like you want to give them a hug or something? Like,
so I will
saying like,
yeah,
that's actually not a problem now, because
also keep in mind it's not really possible for a girl to go on a date with Gabe and not be physical with him.
Yeah, that's
I agree.
Look, I mean, I think when we're talking about, and again, I mentioned it clear, we are talking about the focused dating. When it comes to focused dating, the big aspect of touch, the physical touch, is something so huge that can change a lot. With even just one hug can change a lot of what you think of that person. And there is a reason why you want to hug them. So I'll leave it there. You make your own decisions. Everyone will make their own decisions. But when it comes to trying to learn how to be the most, clear with what's happening, and is this what I want, and is this the right thing for me, and is this the right person? I think it's a shame to let, not even, I wouldn't say small, because emotions are big and it's valuable, but it can change things for you that can even be longer to pick on. And when you do have that kind of, we call it the magic touch, when you do have that sense, of touch with the other person, whether it's a hug or anything else, there is something happening there that clouds you, and that's what I believe.
Can I just throw in? It's really important that everyone knows that this is a whole different topic.
Yes.
Within the Jewish community, which is called Shomer Negiah, where we guard our touch before we get married. And like some people have a joke, they say I'm Shomer, but Shomer Negiah means that we avoid touch, and it's another whole discussion. There's actually a book that she was mentioning, which is called The Magic Touch. We understand that this could be very foreign to some people here,
right?
But there are many benefits of avoiding touch. Now, it's another whole discussion, because most people here would say that that's impossible, that doesn't make sense, that's not normal, that's weird.
And that's why, by the way, I
So
said
that's
I'm
why I
only
need to-
talking about the first 2 dates. I'm not even talking, the religious dating, that throughout the whole process, there is no touch, and we'll talk about it when we talk about touch. I'm literally talking about giving the clarity at least the first date, at least first, second dates, that you have something concrete there, that this is not going to be just like another shooting star relationship. Do you get what I'm saying?
Question for you, Shira.
So, sorry? I think Natasha had a question. And then was it Jordan after?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great question, Gabe. That was definitely one of my questions that I was floating around my head. The other one is, how do you find someone that is also focused dating? This is new to me. I love it. I think it's such an interesting and more intentional way of living in the world. But I don't know how you're supposed to find people that are also into focused dating or into kind of building more meaningful connection, how you tell the difference of.
You have a sense of intuition?
I do, yes. I do have a good sense of intuition.
All right, then you'll figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's
Perfect.
important
I mean,
to ask the person on the first date, like, what are you looking for?
Even before the date, you can ask.
I've heard many options, like Sharona says, like Molly says. I know people doing it. People are struggling with it, because I would say a lot of the people that we know are, want to at least try and do it in a meaningful way and really find the right person quickly. And so they don't want to waste time. So I think the biggest keys is to be very clear. Again, I'm not saying to scare the other person, like, oh my gosh, who's she? But again, using your intuition, trying to sense the other person. You can probably sense, when you're talking to them, if they're very physical, and maybe you can find even the chance to say, I know some people that we know are able to mention something at the beginning, like, by the way, I'm dating, for whatever. I mean, I'm not doing any touch, like for the first 2 dates or something. I've heard many girls and many guys actually, which is very interesting, that do that. It might go, it might not. So it's gonna have to be the right person to go with, I don't think there's
I also
a
think
concrete
that
way to know.
this question's coming because you've never experienced this world.
Exactly.
It's new to you.
Yes.
But when you actually open your eyes to it, then you start seeing it. It's like, we don't believe that things exist until we actually open our eyes to them.
Yeah.
So now that you're opening your eyes to this kind of world, you'll start seeing guys like that. Now that you're looking for it, till now you weren't even looking for it, but now that you are looking for it, you'll actually look out and you'll notice and you'll point out, okay, this guy is not serious.
Yeah.
Or this person is, like the way they dress, the way they talk, the way that they hold themselves. Do they, are they very proud? Are they more modest? I mean, there's a certain language that is spoken, and now you're going to be looking out for it, so you'll see it. And guys can see it in girls too, of somebody that's more serious and they're not there to waste their time. So I believe that it's something you have to be on the lookout for to actually believe that it exists. Most people tell me, I don't believe anyone, I want to date seriously, but I don't believe anyone else does.
Right. Exactly.
That's what most people tell me when they start getting involved in our organization or like in Judaism in general. And I tell them, you're thinking that because you've never actually looked for it.
It's foreign for you.
It's foreign because you never looked for it. It's like there's certain things that we, like when we bought our Toyota, so it's a red car. And as soon as I bought the Toyota, which is red, I'm like, wow, everyone's got a red car and everyone's got a Toyota.
Yeah.
And the reason is because it was never on my mind. Suddenly, when it was on my mind, I suddenly
seeing it.
I suddenly saw thousands of. The same happened with strollers. As soon as Debbie was born, I saw thousands of strollers on the street. Right? How many people here in this group could say how many strollers they noticed today, and what type of stroller it was?
Probably 0.
When that happened with my little brother when he was born, you see everyone has a baby.
Yes, everyone has a baby.
Yeah.
You see everyone who's pregnant. You see, right? So it's where you're holding in life is what you now open your eyes to. And people don't believe, many people don't even believe that there's serious people out there because you never believed because you never lived that way or you never saw anyone that way. But you just got to open your eyes to it. So I think that there are people like that. There's many people like that. And you just got to at least open your eyes to looking for someone like that.
And I think it's important to hold up to values or anything you think is important and that you want to do and not let go just because that's the society or that's what guys are like, you know?
There are serious people out there. There's no question about it.
Yeah. It may take time to find them. I mean, no one guarantees nothing when it comes to dating or marriage. Even, let's put it this way, even within the religious community that we say, okay, everyone is, most people keeping this and doing that, you can still have people that are 30 that are not married. I mean, there's no guarantee for anything, but it's definitely helpful and it helps you, lead your way in dating in a better way.
Yeah. What's wrong with being not married at 30?
Nothing wrong.
Nothing,
I'm just saying in our
community,
when you start dating at the age of like 20 for marriage, and I'm coming from family where we're 6 in my family. I am the only one that got married so young it wasn't like planning that I wanted to get married that young. But all my siblings started dating at the age of 20 and didn't get married till 27, 28. And they had a hard time finding the right person. So growing up watching that, it was really hard. I never believed that, I was so discouraged with dating in general. I was like, all guys are terrible because I have 5 sisters. I mean, we're 5 and 1 brother. So we had a lot of negativity, to talk about and until they found the right guy. So even if you are following, it's all from God. It's not really anything that's within our control, but there are things that we can do to make it easier and hopefully help ourselves. That's what I believe in. Anyone else?
Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan wanted to say something, right?
Yeah, this is kind of a separate question, but going back to Shomer Nagia, obviously, I know with you two in particular, I'm curious the take in terms of sometimes in society it's unavoidable. Like you're going to be passing someone in a chair on the sidewalk and you're going to bump into them. Is it like Corona now where you'll try to avoid them at all costs? Or is it like totally fine if you just happen to brush into something, you don't even need to think twice about it?
So I'll tell you, I guess I'll answer it.
Sure.
So there's 2 types of touch, there's touch that can happen just like randomly, like you said, and that's not necessarily considered as touch. We're talking about touch that has the feeling and have the emotion. So that's a completely different thing. Let me tell you, it happened to me when we lived in Oregon. So that's a personal story. We lived in Oregon, University of Oregon. No one knew, of anything like Shomer Nagia, let's put it this way. And I remember we organized a massive Shabbat on campus. It was like 400 students or something. And we saw this one guy, one of the fraternity guys. He didn't see me for a long time and he came running to give me a hug in front of 300 people. Now,
we did a joint event with the Hillel.
Yeah, and that was, so he gave me a hug. I wasn't necessarily participating that much, but then after I went up to him and I said, hey, by the way, I didn't want to, embarrass you or anything, but by the way, I just gave him like a, in a nutshell that, I'm married, I'm religious, so I'm committed to my husband, and I am not and will not touch any other men. So even if it's just your hug, whatever. So he was like, oh my goodness, he felt so bad. He felt so bad to come to us after, but then we made everything better and he came all the time. But the idea was that it was so foreign, and people messaged me after like, is there anything you need to do to like, I don't know, purify yourself? I said, what are you talking about? Nothing happened, okay? There wasn't, it was like something that happened. It was a mistake. There was no intention. Goodbye. We moved on. Nothing happened. So I hope that answered your question. I had quite a few things of that, incidents like that.
In Hebrew,
with
it's
handshakes
called,
as well.
In Hebrew, it's called L'Shem Chiba or Shelo L'Shem Chiba, which is touch with the intent of Chiba is connection of
with the feelings, the emotions,
an emotional connection. So it's all about the intent, not just whether you touch someone.
Yep.
I'm just going to quickly go into the last point that we're going to talk about tonight, which is ghosting. And the reason why I'm talking about this here is because we do not, you don't mind, right? We have a few minutes. Oh, you want to finish?
It's up to them.
Okay.
You know?
So I think this is important because it's to do with, why is this to do with healthy dating? Because this is everything to do with healthy dating. This is crazy, but ghosting is everything to do with healthy dating. And I'll tell you why. Well, first of all, ghosting is just a sign of bad manners. I mean, I've never heard, I just do not understand how this works. And then the excuse, sorry, I've been MIA. I mean, that's okay. Now you admit it, so it's okay. MIA makes it all fine. But, you know, I think that it's totally bad manners to somebody who's invested time for you. They've given you their time. They've given you their attention. We're not only meant to respond to somebody just because I'm attracted to them. And if they're not attractive to me and I don't know how to confrontate the situation, I just ignore them. That's ridiculous. That's childlike behavior. An adult-like behavior means that as soon as I see somebody and there's something I don't like, and I'm just very open about it. And you should know that I am a victim of ghosting because I'm a rabbi, and I'm like, hey, yo, you should come to our Shabbat, and then ghost. You know, so I'm a big victim of ghosting, and I think that it's rude. But it's a rabbi.
Like
I'm a rabbi.
College kid style.
College kid style, but it's okay. I've got thicker skin, and it's part of my job. But for everyone else, right, it's not your rabbi, okay? It's your date. If it's your rabbi, fine, whatever. Like, just, you know, ghost him. But your date, I mean, that's somebody who went out with you. They gave you their time. So for number one, it really is a great sign of very bad manners. Childlike behavior. You don't know how to deal with the situation, so you're running away from it. Don't ghost, okay? Number one, that's bad manners. But I want to go into some other reasons why ghosting is very damaging, and it's not going to help you in your dating. Number one is it trains you for your confrontation muscles. So you know how we build muscle? We build an immunity to things by training ourselves with it. So there's actually a muscle that I called the confrontation muscle. Every time you face somebody you don't know how to deal with, or you have to respond to, and you have to tell them, excuse me, but you're wrong, you are now facing a confrontational situation. How are you going to deal with it? Okay? It's one of the greatest challenges. We've spoken about this a lot. When interacting with other humans is the challenge of confrontation. You know, how are you going to answer your spouse when they're doing something you didn't like, or your kids without offending them, your friends, your co-workers, right? You should. And I think, by the way, if there's something you don't like about someone that did something to you, I think the most amazing thing is to go over to them and say, listen, I just want you to know I really didn't like that. That really hurt my feelings. You know, just by saying those words can make that other person just stop. Instead of leaving it and letting that stuff go on, it's so much easier just to go up to someone and say, listen, bro, I really didn't like that. That hurt my feelings. And they'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And they'll never do it again. Sometimes I'm just showing how confrontation is so much better than the lack of confrontation. When you just go up to somebody and say, listen, it really hurt my feelings, that solves all the problems. In minutes, the guy will say sorry and everything moves on. But it's because of the lack of confrontation that we have so many more problems in our lives. So strengthening your confrontational muscle is so important, and you can use that in not ghosting by responding. Even though you don't know how to respond, just go for it. Think of it and send that response. Don't say, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll send it next week. Deal with it. And one of the ways of dealing with things is not ghosting. One of the signs that you don't know how to deal with something is that you ghost. So it's a level of maturity. I don't think you'll see 70-year-olds or 80-year-olds ghost. Number one is because they can't run. And number two is because they can't text and they don't have a Facebook account. And really, the reason why they don't ghost is because there's a level of maturity in them, which is like, hey, I'm just going to tell you what I think. There's a certain level of maturity that you see in people that are older versus younger people in this area, especially in the area of confrontation. You something that you don't agree with, something you didn't like, you deal with it in a nice way and you move on. So that's why it's really important for you and for your dating in general. And finally, you will only gain by not ghosting. You will only lose by ghosting. The reason is because your date talks. Okay, whoever that is that you're going out with has a mouth, and they're going to go home and they're going to go to their friends and they're going to tell them, I went out with this guy and he was so rude. I mean, he ghosted me. And now you've lost 20 Jewish girls in LA, right? The statement that there's not that many Jewish guys or there's not that many Jewish girls. Well, by acting like a jerk to one Jewish guy or acting like a jerk to one Jewish girl loses your chance with 20 Jewish girls in the neighborhood. Because everyone's going to talk about what a rude person you were. So people talk, that's just the reality. And how you act with people is going to go around. So I believe that you can only gain by acting like a mensch. And by the way, the date that you're going out with, most likely, if it doesn't work with you and that person, they most likely have a mutual friend that is compatible for you. So maybe, and I know of people that it didn't work out for them.
They suggested
that guy to another friend of theirs.
Yep.
We just had somebody who called me and he said, listen, there's this girl, I met her, she's really sweet.
Oh yeah.
I want to date her. I really like her. So I said, so go for it. So he says, no, can you reach out? It's a bit awkward. It's an awkward situation. So I said, no problem. Of course I'll reach out. So reached out and she says, and then I found out why he didn't want to reach out personally. She says, no, there's, a friend of mine, my best friend that he also went out with and he was acting like a real jerk to her. So there's no way.
Like, no way I'm gonna.
There's no way I'm going out with him, and that's exactly the example of where, look, if it doesn't go well with this girl, know that she has 20 friends, and one of them might be your date, it might be your wife, it might be your husband. So even if it doesn't work out, always remember that this person you're dating with, even if you know it's not going to work out, make sure it ends well. Try and make it end well. Sometimes it's not possible, but try as hard as you can to make it end well, because they are going to help you find somebody. This sounds crazy, but they specifically are going to talk. They're going to be marketing you to 20 other people. And sometimes you can't control them. Sometimes people are rude and they'll lie. That's true. But at least what's in my control and what I can do, I'm going to do. And if I'm going to ghost, I am losing my chance to have a normal date with 20 other girls, right? I'm losing my chance. So that is the idea. Ghosting is very bad, and it's very bad for you, not for the person you're ghosting. It's even worse for you yourself. So I think that somebody who learns not to ghost and responds quickly and learns how to deal with confrontation will actually have a good date in the future and will have healthy dating in general. Are there any thoughts on that in general about ghosting itself?
Rabbi,
yes.
I want to say that I generally agree with your ideas about ghosting, but I also think that it's important to mention that one should not jump to conclusions about why someone would ghost. Basically, a lot of people have intimacy issues and social anxiety, and I mean, those are things that they need to resolve themselves with a therapist or someone, but it's not always that someone will be ghosting out of laziness or out of some
of course
in character traits.
I do not argue with that. I think that it's each person's responsibility to not judge the other person.
But then there has to be some kind of communication, though.
But there should be a form of communication. I mean, if you're close to someone and you've been with them and you've given everything to them, they've given everything to you, I think it's the minimal decency that you speak. The only time that I'm saying, of course, it's like, at the end of the day, I can't judge. I shouldn't judge. And that's what you're saying. I shouldn't judge the other person that's doing something bad to me. But I'm talking about the person that's ghosting right now. I don't care. It's true that the person you're dating shouldn't judge you, shouldn't talk about you, shouldn't go around telling about you. But at the end of the day, you, the ghoster, the person that's ghosting, I don't care what situation you're in, that other person gave you their everything for whatever amount of time. And the minimum that you should do is respond to them, the ghoster, not the one that's being ghosted, the ghostee, right? But the one that is ghosting, he himself or she must do something to respond. This is another human being in front of you. You got to do everything you can. True, the ghostee should also not judge and understand it's the hard work. I think it's very hard work. You have to be an angel to have given everything to this person and suddenly he disappears from you.
It's a real tzaddik.
It's a righteous, very righteous person. But you're right. At the end of the day, if you're righteous, you would judge them and give them benefit of the doubt. Any other thoughts or ideas, or whether you agree, don't agree?
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, what about ghosting back? Like, let's say someone ghosted you, but then they message you like a couple months later, like they changed their mind.
That's called
like,
caspering.
Do I have to respond to them at that point? Like, why should I spend my time with them?
There's actually a term for it.
Unless they give you a legitimate, I agree with you, Molly. Unless they give you a legitimate reason for,
like what has happened in the past 2 months.
they don't even apologize. They just ignore. I know that happens because I'm a rabbi and it happens to us all the time. So remember, we're the number one ghostees right here. Okay,
Yeah,
we know
been
this.
through a lot of ghosts.
Literally hundreds of ghosting. So I hear you. If somebody's done that after a few months, you gave them everything, you dated them, and then they suddenly come alive again. I think that's just, it's very hard to get back into such a person unless they give you, first of all, a very sincere apology and a reason why they did it. Yeah. But sorry, I've been MIA. Just want to know if you want to get out again for a nice dinner. Back in the day, it was fun.
It's not good enough.
2 months ago, you remember that? So yeah, that kind of talk is raw. I think that's usually, that's just a joke.
So you don't need to respond to that.
I don't think so.
You don't need to respond to anything.
Yeah, if you don't want to, you don't have to.
I know, but I don't want to be like the ghoster also. Like, two wrongs don't make a right, but in that situation.
Dude, are you kidding me?
Yes.
Any suggestions by anyone? What do you think?
A good Jewish woman.
What a good Jewish girl. She has
There's plenty
values.
of guys she's not responding to. She's just not telling you about them.
Oh my god.
I just feel like you should follow what you feel at that point to do with your experience with that person. If they don't apologize, no legitimate nothing, they just wake up, I really don't think you have to respond.
Anyone got thoughts on that? Do you think it's okay to respond? Should you ghost a ghoster? Should you pay back? Is it revenge? I don't think it's revenge.
Seem like a healthy thing to do in a relationship.
Yeah.
I don't think you should ever say, like, just because you did something to me that I didn't like, I'm going to do it back to you. I don't think that's okay under any circumstance.
So what should you do? I mean, someone ghosted you you gave everything to them. Dated them.
We said that there wasn't a sincere apology or not. Explanation of what had happened. No explanation.
You dated them. I'm not
just
talking about friends.
They're picking up literally after 3 months of like what was 3 months ago. What's your response?
It's happened to me before, and I said it's great to hear from you. Is there something that changed that you're reaching out now?
I like that.
Okay, and then what was the response at that point?
It was that I was really busy and life got to be too much, and now like things have calmed down a bit and I want to like pick back up again. And then my response back is like, well, I appreciate that you're thinking of me, but I wish you would have thought of me when you decided to stop talking to me, because that felt very disrespectful.
That's great. You voiced your feelings, and I like that.
I really like
Absolutely like this. So I guess if anyone can be like Becca in that sense, that would be great. I think
she's right. See, Molly, Becca should be she should be on your team.
If anyone wants them, I have some templated text that I send people for different situations.
It's amazing.
Wow. That's really great. Tonight, guys, was really interesting and packed, and I think we're gonna call it off. It's a good night.
Yes. It was fun. Any other thoughts before we go? Finish?
Before we say goodnight. Anyone? Or you could just say goodnight.
Or you could just go. You could ghost if you just.
Thank you so much. It was a great talk.